Thank you.
Okay, we're live.
We're live. Well, good evening, everybody. Call to order the May 12th, 2021 meeting of the Poolesville Planning Commission. On the agenda tonight, we have any announcements. We have public comments, which Bobby has, I'm sure, organized those that will be joining us. We have approval of the February 11th, 2021 meeting. New business is a variance submitted by Yahia Agarib, 17301 Hughes Road, regarding a patio located in the building restriction line. We also have Poolesville High School presentation in new business. In old business, we have the Fish Pool Willard property, a sketch plan application for the Bricken property, and master plan discussion. When some of these items were discussed prior to knowing what the full agenda was going to be, so if there was an issue we need to move some of the master plan discussion, we can see how the evening goes, but we'll try and be as efficient as possible. Martin, any announcements from the commissioners?
No, I don't have any announcements at this time.
Thank you very much. Wade, anything from the town? Staff, Bobby?
No?
No.
Nope. All right. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the February meeting?
Yep.
Do we have any edits, questions, comments on those?
Make a motion. We approve the February Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Can I ask a quick question? On at the end of the meeting minutes, it said that we received the schedule, and I don't actually have that we got the schedule, just that it was mentioned that we were supposed to get the meeting schedule. And we also discussed a shared drive, which wasn't in those minutes.
That was from the previous town manager. I'll have to see what he said.
Okay. Did we get the schedule for our upcoming meetings?
I don't know.
I did not see one.
Okay, so then the minutes should probably reflect that it was mentioned, but we haven't actually received them.
Okay.
And then also that we are to look into getting a shared drive.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope we can follow up with that soon instead of emailing these documents, trying to keep them track them that way.
Yes.
So with those two corrections, I would second Kevin's motion to accept them.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What was that, Martin? You faded out the black. What was that, an aye or an A?
That's an aye.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. All good. Motion passes. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my document management system here.
Brian, I do not see that guy for the special exception in the waiting room.
Okay, we can move on to the other new business, and if he joins, we can take him at the time that he joins. Does that work for you guys? All right, so Poolesville High School is from the on deck circle right to home plate, and you're up.
Hi, this is Ken Thacker. Good evening. I'm with VMDO Architects, and I gotta say we are very excited to share our work with you on Poolesville High School. Unfortunately, the rest of our team is still struggling to join the meeting. Brandon Benjamin is out there in the ether. Our civil engineer from AdTech was planning to join the call. We had invited the principal from Poolesville High School. My compatriot, Sean, is trying desperately to get in because he has the slideshow to share with you. So
I'm trying.
at this point, I'm not really able to say anything more. Maybe we can be slid down the agenda until we can get our folks into the meeting. Has anyone received an email from folks who are unable to join?
Sean Mulligan,
Yes,
he says, can you resend the invite?
right.
Who's Sean?
Mulligan.
Sean Mulligan is the project manager for the Poolesville High School project.
But I have another Sean Benjamin.
Yes.
Benjamin. Is that
Yes,
one of yours?
he's the civil engineer.
Okay, he's in now.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm missing Sean Milligan.
So the people that can't get in right now are Brandon Benjamin, Dennis Cross, Mark Crothers, Sean Mulligan, and Sean Benjamin's here. So.
That sounds correct. Yes.
Okay, I sent him back out.
Thank you.
I'm inclined to wait a couple minutes and try and get this new business ahead and finish before we move into old business. So unless there's any other suggestions, we'll go with that plan.
So, Brian, one of the things that I've been asked to do is discuss the forest conservation area. Because on the plan, they're going to relocate a portion of the forest conservation area. And of course, that has to be, as it's an easement, that will have to be approved by the commissioners. It doesn't change. What it's doing is moving the forest conservation area from that runs along the parking lot area, basically, to the rear of the property or to the northeast corner of the project site. So it gets a deeper forest conservation. There's a plan for it that I'm sure that one of the staff for the school will be able to show. I did send that around. I know it was a little hard to read because trying to read it on a small little screen with all the detail that's there, it makes it a little difficult, but that is what would happen. If the Planning Commission is comfortable with that relocation of the forest conservation area, then they would make a recommendation to the Planning Commission or to the commissioners, the commissioners to accept it, and they would accept the easement document when it's drafted.
And
is
is that basically the crux of why they're here today? Is that what our role is, or is there more to it for us?
There's more to it than that, but that's one thing I could address and talk to at this point and keep things kind of rolling along.
Well,
until other people do.
Can you or Wade or Bobby explain what we should be focusing on with this presentation and where we need to be making judgments?
The forest conservation is one of the issues for the architect for moving forward in order for them to be able to continue going down the road. If I'm not mistaken, that is an issue. So they do need to get that approval from the commissioners in order to move forward. That plan came in not this past week, but the week before, along with the site plan that was sent around.
Looks like we lost Kevin.
He's there, but he's not. He may have shut his. There he is.
I'm here. I'm saving people from looking at me.
But other than what John had said about the forest conservation, which I didn't know earlier in the day, yours is just to get an initial review tonight, ask questions pertaining to the plan and whatever else. And then once John and I can do a good review of the plan, it'll come back before the board again.
Okay. Thank you. We making any progress with the presenters?
I'm working on it right now.
I see you working hard, Bobby.
Working on it on your phone.
I'm wondering if the same issue is occurring for the person who's for our new agenda or new business agenda item 1 for the variance, if he's having trouble getting in as well.
I haven't seen anything. I don't know if that's
Probably.
a phone number up there.
I'm talking with Bill Willard right now. He's trying to get in also, so I'm trying to help him.
Yeah, the phone number that's up there that just arrived should be Sean.
Hey, Bobby, who do you have in the waiting room right now?
Dave, Hagler, Dennis Cross, James Clifford, Jerry Klobakowski, and Josh.
Okay. Thank you.
Dennis Cross is MCPS for this project.
David Cross is?
Dennis
Yes.
Cross, yeah.
Okay, he's in here. So I'm missing Sean.
Sean Mulligan is here on audio on my phone. I'm unable to log in on my computer.
Oh, okay. So it looks like everybody's there, right? Hello?
Sean, what about Mr. Carruthers? Did you get an affirmative response from him?
I did not see an email come back from him that he was absolutely returning. Is Brandon in the room?
I don't see him.
Yeah, I think Brandon Benjamin and Dennis Cross were having trouble getting
Dennis
in.
Dennis is here.
Dennis
I
is
see
there.
Dennis.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and we weren't having trouble. We were just waiting in the waiting room.
Yeah, for some reason, folks, and I'm sorry for this difficulty, as the meeting started, I was removed from the meeting by the host, and I seem to just be completely unable to join from my computer.
But Sean, you need to be able to in order to present your slides, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how best to get around that. Bobby, I don't know if it would be possible for you to send me a new invite. It might.
Are you in yet? Okay, well, hang on. I just got in. Yeah, hang on. Brandon Benjamin is also still sitting in the waiting room from MCPS.
He's not in my waiting room.
He was in the same waiting room I was in.
I only have 4 people in my waiting room and he's not one of them.
Are any of the people in the waiting room here for public comment?
Try get out and try re-entering.
Jerry's here for the variance.
And so we have Mr. Clifford, Mr. Willard in the waiting room.
Clifford is, Billy's still trying to get in. I guess when they forwarded this invite, I don't know what happened. Usually when I send them, you just log in. I don't know what happens when you forward it.
So do we at this time by any chance have an entire party of anybody that is on the agenda?
Who's 240-810-2100? It's just a phone number.
Maybe we should let him in and find out. Just a thought.
Bill Willard's still not able to get in, but he said if Jim Clifford is there, he could definitely speak for him and move forward.
I just sent Billy a new Zoom.
Well, let's get something done. Let's if we can take Mr. Clifford in and discuss fish pool out of order, let's take that so we can get moving. Before we do that, Jay was with the 2 development discussions on the agenda. Do you want to recap where we were from our previous meeting and just kind of keep us in the ballpark of what we're discussing this evening?
Okay, I'd be happy to, and set some background here. I'll start out with the Willard project, fish pool that's going to be on, and I think their attorney will be involved. Since our last business meeting that we had, you all should have received a memo from me discussing the issue of concept approval. And I hope you all read that. It went to your group and to the commissioners. And in general sense, I'd like to summarize it because it's really relevant to the fish pool project, is that our code does not contain such a concept, such an idea, such a paradigm, whatever synonym you want to use. There is no concept approval. We have preliminary approval and we have final approval. Concept approval was something that came out, and I explained it in my memo, kind of how it came about, which was used as an informal way for the planning commission to get a general idea of what was going to happen, and for the developer to say, here's what I want to do before I spend a lot of time and money going forward. The issue came with the fish pool project was when you deal with what is happening where there's an overlay zone, it requires the developer applicant to give a concept, an idea. Okay, it's not necessarily a plan, a concept plan, but it's an idea, a theme, and they presented that diagram to you, those things that you reviewed, where the houses were, where the streets were, very detailed. That is what you use to basically say, we like the idea, and it goes to the commissioners. Somewhere the wires got crossed at the commissioner level where the commissioners thought that there was a concept approval by the planning commission. And we said, remember, there is no such thing as concept approval. And the concern that everyone had was if the commissioners blessed it by granting the overlay zone, the change in zoning, then the planning commission would have their hands tied and would not be able to make changes to the plan that you saw in front of you. And that is not the case. Okay, we need to step back, and what that memo hopefully told you was that you're approving an idea. I'm going to use that in place of concept. You were approving the idea of what they want to put on their property. And in order to do what they want to put on their property, they need a change in zoning. And you all were recommending to the commissioners that this change in zoning happen. Okay, the change in zoning is the overlay. Okay, so it's not a, just go with me for the idea. The commissioners would then discuss whether or not the change in zoning is necessary, not the specifics of where houses were or where roads were or things like that, but do they like the idea, and is the change in zoning something they think should happen to fit in with the overall plan of the town? At that point in time, they tabled the matter and sent it back to you because there was a lot of public comment. You all received all of the public comment. I believe there's 70-some pages of that. Most of that public comment dealt with specific issues that would be on a plan, not overall conceptual ideas that had to be dealt with. So what you all, when you eventually deal with this, you need to look at, is this the conceptual plan? Is this the idea that you want to see there? Knowing that if the commissioners approve the zoning change, you will be in a position to work with the developers through the entire development review process, which hasn't even started.
Exactly.
Okay. And it hasn't started, but to the developer's credit, they've given you more than information than normal people would to get you comfortable with where they're headed here. So if you can imagine, once the zoning change would happen, they would come back to you saying, all right, let's roll out the plans. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? What do you want to change? Okay, so that's the background of where we are with Fishpool. And Mr. Chairman, while I have the floor, I just want to finish and how it relates to the Bricken property, which is, I believe, also on your agenda. That was one where you tabled for a different reason. You tabled it because you didn't believe you had enough information about the water and sewer capacity that the town has. Remember, we're going back to February. Since that, Wade and John and Bobby have worked to create an understanding, and you had a work session that explained the sewer capacity issue related to the I&I issue, related to the financing issue. And what you should take away should have been was, while there are issues now on capacity, those issues could get addressed in the near future. And at the same time, the development project could be moving through the process, because we anticipate it would take at least a year to get through the development review process. So we would be fixing the system, bricks and mortar, by the time they got to the point where they would need preliminary plan approval. And for everybody we're dealing with here, you would not be in a position to grant preliminary plan approval unless we had adequate capacity, water, sewer, schools, you name it. So there is no guarantee for a developer that if they start the process, they get to finish the process. They all understand that they're operating at risk until they can get through preliminary plan approval. And to make it even better, after they get preliminary approval, basically what they're going to do is make the changes that you wanted, and they're going to come back to you for final approval. And then they still have to have capacity. So it's a two-step process. You postponed the decision on concept approval for Bricken. I just told you we don't really have such a thing. So there is nothing wrong with the Planning Commission saying, we like the idea, we like where you're headed with Bricken. You could give them an informal nod, check, whatever. But they just want to know, is it something, are they headed in the right direction? And then they would move through preliminary plan. And that again would take about a year. So I hope I explained how these concepts work together. It's not quite as simple as I'm explaining, but these are the general concepts. I'd be happy to take questions. John and Wade can certainly field some questions as well on this, but this is, you got to think of this as like a cash flow model if it were money. It's not how much money you have in the bank today. It's how much your paycheck's going to bring in next month and how much your bills are going to be. So you're looking at this over time, not at the instant we're approving things today. So, Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions, that kind of summarizes where you were. And so I know that Mr. Clifford here is here. He is the attorney for the fish pool project. And he had some difficulty at the commissioner level logging in at the time because he wasn't allowed to speak at a certain time in the meeting and had some concerns about what the commissioners were doing. I hope I addressed a lot of that, Jim. If there's anything I missed, the chairman may entertain you to talk.
Yeah, before we go to that, just going to give the planning commissioners a chance. Did Jay's comments there spur any questions, any uncertainty, anything you want to ask him before we move on?
I actually just want to clarify. So for the Willard project, the fish pool project, because it was sent back to us, should we be giving specific feedback on things that we would like to see potentially change so we can send it back to them? Or should we just, decide if this is going in the right direction and send it for the overlay change and have it come back? I'm still a little confused on how this is working right now.
Okay, you can do either. However, the second proposition that you had would be the normal course, saying we like where this is headed and you can send it back because all you're requesting is that the commissioners address the zoning. And then when it comes back to you, you can do what your initial proposition was, is saying we'd like to make these changes. If you feel that it is more helpful that the developer make these changes because it'll help sell it better for the commissioners to make the vote that you want to happen as the planning commission, then that would be the route. But if you feel that general concept is good enough, that would be enough. I hope that explains both options that you have, but you laid out the options. That's correct.
Okay. And then just really quickly to clarify for Bricken, this is the time that we would be actually providing them with things that we would like to see changed if there are changes we would like to see with their concept, so that they can continue moving in the correct or the right direction for preliminary. Is that correct?
That is correct. You would be doing it as a courtesy so that you don't have to do that and they don't have to ask you. But since they did, and they did make some changes, you would be saying, yes, I'd like you to make more changes. Think from their standpoint, they don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money moving into one direction and find out you wanted them to go into the other, when it would have been easier for you to tell them what direction to go in up front, and they would have done that.
Thank you, Amanda. Kevin, did you look like you wanted to say something? Did you have another question?
I just want to ask, so it sounds like we made the decision back a few months ago that we liked the idea where the Willards were going, and we wanted to recommend the overlay zone to the commissioners. So it sounds like we're back to the decision we already made.
That is my take on this, because I believe that when the previous town manager made the presentation to the commissioners, he used the word concept plan, which again is relevant to this particular situation. But that led the commissioners to believe, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, Commissioner Radigan can explain what the thought was, but that led them to believe that if they said yes, then you all would be locked in to what is in front of you. And you all even had some concerns saying you weren't comfortable with, if I recall, like a certain house placement or a road placement, or you hadn't made some decisions. And there was really of a concern saying, let's just take a timeout. And the timeout could have been tabling it while we discuss it, but they said, send it back. And this was also in the face of a lot of public comment that really, you gotta face it. The public doesn't know what board to comment, right? They just say, hey, it's public comment on the Willard project. I'm telling you what I think. So it came as a result of the hearing. But most of those things that came out of there were not things the commissioners could address anyway. They needed you to address them. So you will get a chance to address those throughout the process.
Let me give you my take on this. I can't remember who it was that said this, but at the commissioner level, we specifically asked if we approve this tonight and we send it back to the planning commission for final tweaks, are we going to be able to make significant changes? And somebody said no, like you'll be able to do minor things here and there, but basically the bulk of the thing will be done. Like the number of homes, like all the big stuff is locked in once you approve it at the commissioner level, which is why the planning commission collectively said we didn't really know that was the case, and so we'd like to revisit it before we send it there. So there's some kind of a communication breakdown. I don't know if this was Seth that said this or who said it, but I'm 100% certain that that's what was said, and that's why this is back in front of us tonight.
Just so you know, my notes show that at 16:15 on that meeting, Seth said that it would set the number of homes.
Right.
So we got bad information. Now we have better information. If Mr. Clifford has some things he would like to discuss with us, I think this is a good time for him to do that.
I would love to do that. I've been wanting to do that since February 16th, I think it was. It was that I've ever been involved in. Simple mistakes, there was simple solutions, could have been resolved immediately. But the way your system is set up, the presentation, the presenters are blocked until they make the presentation, and they're blocked immediately after. So all the discussions you guys had, at any point in time, you could have gone back to the presenters and said, hey, is this right? Or what is your understanding? And it would have been straightened out in a heartbeat. And instead, a mistake was made by Seth. And I'm going to explain that very quickly. We filed an application to do nothing more than to get the overlay zone approved, or excuse me, recommended by the Planning Commission. That's what we filed. It was an application for designation of village overlay zone, November 16, 2020. That's all we filed. Your procedure asked that we share a vision with you. And as Jay said, we decided we were going to paint that vision as deeply as we could so that everybody understood how hard we were working to do what we had done. And we met with so many people, including some of the commissioners, including some of the folks in the community. And anyhow, we did present a whole lot more than what's required, but we did that intentionally. It was never our intention to get approvals for anything other than the overlay zone and to prove to you all, we got a better project with an overlay zone. And frankly, if you go back and look at your notes, at the end of your last meeting, there was a little confusion that got straightened out. And what you sent to the commissioners was nothing more than your recommendation to use the overlay zone, period. We applied for that. You granted a right for recommendation to the commissioners. The only thing the commissioners had to do that night was look at that vision that we had presented, take into consideration the recommendation you guys made, and decide what they wanted to do. It went sideways quickly after our presentation, and it all came down to the fact that Seth had suggested that we had a sketch plan approval, which is not even part of the process. And then Commissioner Madigan got nervous, and rightfully so. He said, wait a minute, are we out? Are we no longer able to talk about these things? And Seth said, that's right, yeah, the number's fixed. No, it's not. It never was. It is a sketch plan for the purposes of requesting an overlay zone use, village overlay zone use on the Fishbowl property. It should have been a 5-minute meeting by the commissioners saying, okay, yes or no. If they said yes, then let's set it back and let's start the process. So meanwhile, you know, here we are, it's May. We've lost months and months again. I wrote a letter, I never got a response. We really feel abused by this process. I'm going to ask Jay to talk to the commissioners and understand we're not making a presentation tonight. There's no reason to. You guys have everything. All we're asking you to do is send it back with the same recommendation you made before for the overlay zone. Let the commissioners narrow their view to nothing more than, do we want the overlay zone or don't we? And then send it back to you guys to start the process. That's all we want to have happen here. We don't think there needs to be another public hearing. There's no new evidence. There's no new presentation. Most of the people that commented during both this informal Zoom meeting that you all held, some of you held, and then later, most of them had to do with facts that no one had clearly seen a plan. You know, they were guessing. They hadn't actually looked at anything. And I don't blame them because they hadn't had anything to see if they didn't show up at the Planning Commission. So it's really time to go back and start this process. I hope we can go back to commissioners, expedite this thing, make a decision, nothing new, no new evidence, no reason for more testimony, no need for more public comment. Decide what you've got based on the facts in the record, not the Zoom meeting, because that was all after the record closed, but everything else. And there's a lot of good stuff in there that we'll be working with you guys on when we come back. But please send us back. Let the Martin, please, if you would please let the commissioners know you got bad information and you made decisions made on bad information, and take it back up, make the decision. You were ready to do that. Let's do it. And let's start this process. It is taking way too long to get to the real meat of this. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr.
Jim, I
Clifford.
don't disagree with anything. I don't really have any disagreement with anything you've said. I don't believe. I don't think we need to have any more public comment. I think that you know, we all agreed here on this board that the general concept of what you're proposing looked really good. Something that could be advantageous for the town. Seth gave us bad information, and I apologize for that if that's what happened. I don't recall exactly who said it. I just know for a fact that it was said that, like, once it came to the commissioners and they approved it, it was locked and done. And that was a problem because there's certain things that we want to, adjustments we want to make, I think. Yes, I will certainly take it back to the commissioners at our next meeting, and we can get this moving. I have one question for you, Jay. So if this goes to a commissioner level next week, and we approve the overlay zone use, and then there's, like, just hypothetically speaking, this is probably never going to happen, but there's some big battle and we can't agree on, like, house design or, street width or whatever. What happens then? Like, what happens if we just come to a stalemate and the Willard party's like, no, we can't do what you want, and we're at a stalemate? What happens then?
Well, you have to look at it. It's no different than a normal development review process that you're at. And there usually isn't a stalemate because you will not approve it if you don't see what you want in there, as long as your requests are reasonable and not arbitrary and capricious. So pretend, for our point, is after the commissioners give the zoning approval, that this process just came to you as a normal process with the zone of residential whatever, okay? And they're asking to do things. You would be reviewing it in the normal facts that you would. And if you don't give them approval, they can't move to the next step. So I don't think there would be a stalemate.
So just so I understand, just so we're totally clear, if there's a house that hypothetically speaking, a house or two that we don't like where they're positioned, or perhaps we want to get rid of, if we don't like the style of the bungalows, or whatever, like, those are all things that are in play once it comes back to the Planning Commission.
That's correct. And Mr. Clifford can support that as well as the applicant's attorney.
Okay.
Actually, it was very interesting, Martin, but you really made a point during the Planning Commission meeting, and then several of the other commissioners made the point. What are we really doing here tonight? What are we doing in this Planning Commission? And the assurances were given to you that we'll be back, and that all those things that you're concerned about and things you want to put your fingerprints on were there. The opportunity was coming. Nothing changed. It only went sideways when that one question was asked, was misanswered, and then everybody panicked. And I don't blame them because it was bad information. Jay, I don't think you were at that meeting. I believe you were out of town.
I believe, I don't recall, but like we said, at this point in time, we can fix this. And the path forward, if we want to make a path forward, if you want to do something, is I would think that your group would want to have a motion and a second, just like you did before, to recommend the approval of the overlay zone on the property. And then it would go to the commissioners. I understand the commissioners are going to have it on their meeting next Monday. I don't know what in format, but they would be making a decision possibly by Monday. So.
Okay, well, that being said, I'll make a motion that,
Hold on, I have a few more questions.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry, sorry, I just want to make sure as well. Some of the concept for the overlay is relatively broad. There's no specifics in it, particularly about housing size and all that. That all is stuff we can decide and tweak. There's literally nothing off the table to decide or tweak when it comes back to us, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify and make sure that everybody heard that. And additionally, one more question. Why was the Willard process done the opposite way when they came with their previous plan? Why did we work through it first and then go for overlays approval versus why would it be beneficial to do it the opposite way this time?
That didn't happen.
The thing that happened, and again, I'm thinking back off the top of my head, the only thing that got everybody out of step last time was there was a stormwater or something submittal done to the county before the town gave any type of approvals for anything. And the stormwater submittal was done, if I recall, because it takes so long to do or to get through. And so that was how the town, I think, got sideways on this. But I don't think there was ever an intention to design the whole thing and then get approval back then, as I recall. Maybe Jim, you could.
Well,
yeah.
my memory is crystal clear on this. What actually happened was when we got to the commissioners, we did not get approval for the overlay zone. That's what was, I mean, we went through a tremendous amount of hearings and things, and it was always about the overlay zone. And we just never got past that item. We never got to the vision that was shared by the builder. Nobody had any interest in. And so with all the fighting and infighting and things that were going on at the time regarding that development, it all came down to being in front of the commissioners to get approval of the overlay zone. It was denied by one vote.
But what I think Amanda's referring to, if I may, is there was like a long process that went on and on.
It's because they submitted a concept that we were not comfortable with. So we had a lot of deliberations just to get the concept to a point where we were, and ultimately not even the board wasn't even comfortable with it. So they are so far ahead of that right now that the concept is much more in line with what we see fits in that property, that it's a very different scenario. I mean, I think we all remember the first 93 house subdivision that was proposed is not at all what we're talking about today. And so it took us a long time just to get down to a concept that some of us were even remotely comfortable with.
Okay.
But it was still the same process. It was still the request for the overlay zone.
Yeah.
It wasn't upside down. It was exactly the same approach. It just was a terrible vision. Wasn't our vision. This is our vision.
Does anybody else have any other questions before I'll make a motion?
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
In your packets, you guys had it's a memo that goes to the commissioners that has a list of findings and criteria that should accompany this with as a recommendation, so that he has specific findings in it, since this is a zoning issue, just like Jay did findings when you guys rezoned the Sunshine piece of property. Similar to this should have findings that go to it, that it does meet the master plan criteria, that it does meet all the guidelines in the design manual for the overlay zone. And so has everybody had a chance to look at that?
Yep.
Okay. And then on the bottom, it does say that what you're speaking to the most of, this is only it's a sketch plan concept in nature, and further refinement will occur during the preliminary plan process. So it should be clear to everyone that this is, set up like Jay has detailed it. So this should accompany your recommendation. At the very top, I did put down recommendation also includes water and sewer allocations. I don't think you guys want to do that at this time. Maybe you do, but I could definitely take that off if you don't feel comfortable doing it, if you don't know the number of homes.
I am unsure of what document you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think I got that.
I don't think I have that.
It was lumped all together with, I said, an agenda, February 18th agenda.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it was like the third document down there all together, the minutes of February 18th. And then the third document down was.
So wait, what you're saying is that we should, when we make a motion to forward this to the commissioners that we should approve your checklist? Because it was like a checklist you had, right?
It is exactly that, exactly. So
So
you guys went
Are
through
you
the
able to
the
put
right
that on your
protocols.
screen so we can like, because I'm not comfortable with the water sewer component, but like
I'm not either.
everything
I think that should come out right now.
Yeah,
There's no
I
reason
agree.
for that to be in there. Yeah.
Right,
From
but
just
everything
listening
else
to the
that I recall
conversation.
looked good.
So this will just speak to exactly what you, no, I can't put it on there because I have it on another computer right now. But it should have been in your guys' package.
So
I
the,
did find it, yeah.
you should just run down can you run down the items?
Yeah, can you read them so that we can, because if we're going to vote on it,
Sure
then we
will.
should know what we're.
Yes. Well, actually, you're not, yeah, you will be voting on this. You're voting just to recommend the overlay zone, and this just details it. And it says that the Willard project sketch plan incorporates architectural features such as front porches, diverse building styles, roof pitches, rear loaded garages, and dormers meeting the requirements of the village overlay design manual. Lot sizes, building heights, and setbacks meet the overlay development standards. The use of brick, stone, and other quality construction materials are consistent with the requirements of the village overlay design manual. Development of greenways, walk areas, open spaces, and transitions into neighboring properties meet the requirements of the overlay design manual and comprehensive plan. Additional drive lane will be added to Fisher Avenue along with sidewalk, street trees, and landscaping in conformance with Appendix D streetscape plan of the comprehensive plan. Parkland dedication is in conformance with the Poolesville Code Appendix A subdivision regulations section 29. Forest conservation requirements are in conformance with Chapter 7 of the Poolesville Code and will significantly increase the tree canopy on this property. The road configuration complies with the overlay design manual. Provided parking meets requirements of Appendix B, Section 8 of the Poolesville zoning code. The buffers, landscapes, and walkways tying into neighboring historic properties will serve to enhance and improve existing conditions. Stormwater management will be accomplished using bioretention per Montgomery County requirements, which are anticipated to increase the existing pervious of the property, according to Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services. There's actually a speaker came out during the first round, and when this was going on a couple of years ago, and talked about the bioretention areas. The Willard project is concept in nature, and further refinement will occur during the preliminary plan process review. So that's it. You're just going to details that you've done your homework.
But just so I understand, we're not necessarily like, obviously we can't answer all those specific bullets at this time because some of the stuff has to happen in the future. But if we vote to forward this to the commissioners, we're just voting to forward this to commissioners. It has nothing to do with your document, right?
Correct. This goes along with it. Just says that these are things you guys looked at.
Okay, gotcha.
And we'll look at additionally.
Yes.
The preliminary process. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would like to just bring up really quick before we move this forward again is I read every public comment that was submitted last night and took notes on them all. And something that consistently came up, which does not necessarily deal with design and specifications yet, is the lack of mixed use buildings, which is something that's in the overlay zone. So that's something that's missing. And from what I've heard from a lot of residents is that there is no opportunity for people to own their own business or where they're going to run a business from. So like you can rent from some of the open business areas, but this would be an opportunity where somebody could actually own their space and live above it or have apartments above it to rent out. And so is that something that if we approved this right now, that could be changed? Or is that because it's so imperative to the overlay zone, something that could not be changed?
You want me to take that one?
Jay, does the underlying zone, it's still in a commercial district, but just to overlay over it so they can still have a business. Is that correct? Or
That's correct.
They could, because the underlying zone is still commercial. So they could, this expands their uses, but it doesn't require the applicant to build those things. So, I mean, it's still up to them if they say, we don't want to do that. And then we're not going to do it. It's not part of our vision or our concept. That would be a difficult thing to force on them, but they would have the option.
But let me volunteer to you that during our process that's upcoming, we can discuss that because that's a matter of house design The concern that we've always had with mix, the idea of these where we live work units are that they haven't been successful as far as marketing goes. Even in the Kentlands is a wonderful concept, but it hasn't been very successful. If the market shows us that that's what they want, then I think it behooves the builder to provide a product that would lend itself to that. Maybe the way they set out the floor plan, whatever. But you have to remember, these are very small houses. There's not going to be an opportunity to do very big businesses. These are modest homes. They're sized intentionally to be affordable for people coming in to the market and people moving down in the market. So you have to kind of set your priorities. If these were sort of standard size homes, there'd be more opportunity for that. That's not what we heard from the community. And frankly, the live work unit did come up from time to time, but I never felt it was a compelling or overwhelming decision by the community that that's what they wanted. And we've been told by marketing companies that it would be a very tough product to sell in Poolesville. But not impossible. And I think we had to talk about that some more.
So it would still be open for discussion even if we approve
Oh,
the
yes.
overlay zone, but it would not be something that would be mandated then. We could not say there needs to be mixed use homes because we are kind of saying that this concept meets what we're hoping for in terms of the overlay zone.
No, I think it'd be more a matter of a mutual conclusion drawn by both the board and the owners that there might be an opportunity there or there might not. And we'll have to dive into that and look and see. But at least up till now, we've been told by marketing experts it would not be a product that would work well in Poolesville. Could you have an accounting office or a lawyer's office or any of that? Sure, you can do that, all of that. But if you're talking about a retail, candy store on the first floor and people living above, it's a very small footprint.
Yeah, no, I can see that. But I think particularly now I think more companies potentially may not have workers come back. There may be opportunities for office spaces or stuff that might not have existed pre-pandemic that potentially, but I think as long as that's still on the table and potentially if we can talk about or approve the overlay with the condition that mixed use housing will be looked at or discussed in more fluid detail, because I think that would affect parking. You would have to have some more parking spaces behind some mixed use buildings. Stuff like that could be, I think would make me feel more secure with it.
Yeah, it complicates the design, but it's certainly worth talking about.
Are we good?
That's good. That's that same question. We ready for Martin's motion?
There's like a deja vu to like 2 months ago. I make a motion that we forward the Fishpool LLC overlay zone application to the commissioners.
With our recommendation to approve?
With our recommendation to approve, excuse me.
Can we just add something about and knowledge that we will further discuss mixed use, after, or do we need to say that?
You don't.
I don't think we need to say it. It's implied through the process.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second Martin's motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Clifford, thank you very much for your time this afternoon and this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, Jim, I apologize for the mix up and give my apology to Billy too, but we were apparently not given accurate information, and you can see why obviously we would have to pause on that information. So
I hope you'll clarify it for the commission, and maybe we can find a way back to you guys quicker than later.
That'll be
absolutely
good.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have a good
thank
evening.
you for answering all my questions too.
My pleasure. There'll be many more.
And thank you for having these questions, Amanda. They're fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
Bobby, do we have Jameson ready to go?
I got Josh
Who's Josh?
Mazel.
Is
Yeah.
he the representative? Since we're in the
Over.
mindset, I'd like to get that one going too.
Yeah.
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 He's their architect, I think.
Yes,
Yep.
he is.
Yeah. Thank you for having these questions, Amanda. They're fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
Bobby, Josh, can you turn off the YouTube? Can you hear me?
It's off, sir.
There we go. Welcome.
My computer's giving me a nightmare. Just a minute. I'm sorry.
So just for us, the last time you were here discussing the property, we tabled any kind of decision because we had gotten some, we were afraid that if we approved or allowed suggested the process could go forward, that we would be actually insinuating that we had sufficient water and sewer. We didn't know that we did or we didn't at the time, so we delayed the discussion. We have since found out that we may and could have all the water and sewer that we need by the time the project could come online. And then even when the project comes up online, if we don't have it, we can't grant it.
Right.
That's a pretty good summary for the group. All right. You have anything else you want to add to that, Josh?
Do you guys want me to represent the project?
Well,
I don't want to waste your time, and I know you guys
right.
might.
If I remember correctly, and look, if anybody has any questions on the project, then absolutely we should bring it up and look at it. But I thought we gave some pretty. We were pretty happy with the direction of the design from the initial presentation, and we felt like it was going in the right direction. That was kind of our general consensus. Please, somebody speak up if I'm speaking out of turn or not representing your thoughts. And that's basically all we needed to do, was to say that we like the direction it's going. There's really no decision to be made, no approval to be given.
Right. Okay.
Anybody else have anything they want to say about this?
I think I agree with what you're saying, Brian, between the first iteration and their second when they came back in January with the concept plan. I think they had made some good progress. We had only seen that plan kind of when they came, though. I believe that meeting, we didn't have access to the plan prior to them coming. So we didn't really have any information to give on the newer plan. So I have some things about the plan that was presented, or that it's dated 1/21/2021. But I don't know if anybody else wants to kind of go into details on that, or if they would feel okay with me doing that to start.
I agree. I had some questions too, Amanda, or some thoughts.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Well, I'll just add a few. I'm not a big fan of the heavy use of the pipe stem driveways.
Agreed.
One thing, it's a concern Willard Road's an exit road out of Poolesville. And, we don't want a lot of driveways on Willard, right? Where we want to reduce the number of driveways.
Kevin, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. I think I should probably represent this because I think we've addressed your concern. I think we revised all of that stuff, sir.
Yeah, I think you took them off westerly, but you still have several. So you've had the backyards now facing Willard, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and
so that's what I was concerned about, is the backyards.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I misspoke, sir. On West Willard Road, we've reduced the driveways out from 14 down to 9. And the fronts are to West Willard Road, sir.
Yeah, the front.
Josh, I was going to ask if you just if you can present the plan.
Can
you discuss?
Can you guys share the screen? I don't remember.
Yeah, Bobby, can you grant him the ability to share?
Who?
Josh.
Where is he? There he is. Okay, where is it? Spotlight, pen, chat, mute. Share screen. Got it.
Host
should
disabled
be-
participants share screen. I still don't have access.
I think you got to make Josh a co-host.
Ooh,
So
something
yeah, Bobby's
happened.
sharing her screen. So Bobby, stop your screen share.
Okay.
But what you want to do is when you hover over Josh, there's an
Yeah.
option to make him a co-host.
Where'd he go? There he is.
Josh, while she's doing that, is the latest iteration the one that has 66 homes? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It was reduced from 74 down to 66. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
just making sure I'm looking at the right one on my screen here. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you all. I don't know how to work this thing.
Hey Bobby, at the bottom of your screen
Yeah.
where you can mute and share screen and stuff, there should be also a button for participants.
Okay.
And when you pull that up on the right side, there should be it lists all the participants. And when you click on
Okay.
Josh, you should be
Uh-huh.
able to make presenter.
More. Make host.
Yeah, co-host.
And okay.
Yep, now Josh
There you
is
go.
the host.
Awesome. Gotta love technology.
Make sure
Gotta love
he's a co-host,
Kevin.
not a host. Because if he leaves, then the meeting will close.
Okay. Let me go back in. Okay, Kevin, where am I going?
Just hover back over him and make him a co-host instead of host.
Well, I lost him, so I'll have to find him. Participants.
I could hang out with you guys all night too. I mean, I haven't seen
Probably
Wayne
because
in a
he's the
couple
host
years.
now, Kevin.
You're the
What's that?
host, but you're gonna have
You're
to.
host. So, Josh, I
He's
think
got to
you
do
gotta-
it. She can't do it now.
There's no co-host.
Oh, Josh,
He's the host.
you got to make Bobby a host.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so before you leave, Josh, just make Bobby the host again.
Oh, I can hit stop screen share. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that should be great. Okay. Are we all on board?
Yep, we can see it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the plan that I brought to you guys last time after you guys gave us comments. We went back and seriously took into consideration all of your comments. The number of the proposed lots have reduced from 74 to 66.
Yeah, so Josh, my question was, so and this is just a brainstorming out of the box thinking. You know how, I don't know if you've seen the Willard proposal where they have the front houses on Fisher that face Fisher.
Yes,
they
sir.
have rear entry via like an alley or something. And I was wondering if the same could kind of be incorporated with this plan where the front facing on Willard, instead of having driveways, they are accessed via an alley. That's just the.
You guys had asked for that before, Kevin. We looked at it. We needed a little more space to get our reforestation areas in. And with having ingress and egress easements laid over the lots, it would severely diminish the people's usable space in their backyards for their property.
Unless you cut down some numbers.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Should I keep going, sir?
Yeah, those are my two thoughts.
Okay.
I don't like pipe stems, and I would like.
Well, Kevin, we got rid of most of the pipe stems, except for the back corner, and I'll speak to that if you just guys give me a second. The direct drive access to Westerly Road has been eliminated from the plan. You guys can see this along here. We brought a cul-de-sac into there. Down to the south, the new streets with the cul-de-sacs have been added to eliminate most of the pipe stem lots, and long parallel driveways shown on the earlier plan, which you guys asked us to do. Parcel A up here, This is to be dedicated to the town. It has been enlarged to retain more forest and to provide a suitable area for the planned sewer pump station. And forest conservation areas have been identified on this plan also. So that's parcel A. That's what's going to be dedicated to the town eventually with the sewer pump station. And then I just have, wow, I don't understand this thing. And this is our NRI that we submitted. With all the discussion going on tonight, I know that we shouldn't be asking for approval of our concept. What I'm asking is, can John review the NRI at this point? If we're going to start moving forward with everything, John needs to have the ability to review the NRI so I can start submitting stormwater management concepts and start doing percolation testing. So,
Josh, that's possible. It is part of the preliminary plan, the NRI FSD, not part of the concept. But I can do if I get direction, I can do that.
I'd like you guys please to give direction to John to review the NRI for us.
Isn't it about fees also? John?
Correct. Yeah. Now, if they were to pay the freight, I mean, if there was an agreement to pay the freight, outside, that's a separate issue.
I'm sure Mr. Jameson would more than be willing to do that. Can someone reach out to me and tell me what that fee would be itself? Or is that on the fee schedule, sir?
No, we'll have to figure that out. I'll have to get that to Bobby, and then Bobby would be able to do it. But,
okay.
I mean, for this, and Bobby, you're probably better able to answer this than I. There would have to be an agreement, much like the public infrastructure agreement where the inspections are paid for by the developer.
Right.
Yeah.
Have to have a PIA agreement.
I'm more than sure Mr. Jameson would agree to that, sir.
Yeah.
So, doesn't he?
Uh-oh.
Did we lose everyone?
No, you froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Amanda she had a couple of things I think she wanted to discuss, yes?
Yes, I think they go along with Kevin's pretty well. So he was talking about the pipe stem driveways, and I do agree that you did take out quite a few of them.
Amanda, I'm sorry. I lost you.
Can you hear me now?
I didn't hear anything you said, ma'am.
No problem. Okay, so a lot of the things that I'm going to say kind of also align with what Kevin shared. So the first thing he had said was talking about the pipe stem driveways, and I do agree that you guys did remove quite a few from the original plan to this iteration. But if you look at home 15, 16, 19, 20, 37, they all have very long pipe stem driveways still. And I know that we had talked about before the idea of having that the alleyway behind, and I do hear what you're saying about having the alleyway cutting back on how many homes you could have because of setbacks. But I think that dramatically improves the number of pipe stem driveways, particularly 15, 16, 19, 20, even 22 and 23 could all be accessed from an alleyway that starts between homes 12 and 11 and extends down between homes 26 and 1. So that's, I agree with the pipe stem driveway, and I feel like that should be potentially re-looked at. Additionally, in terms of the driveways on West Willard, there are quite a few, and I know that Stony Springs also has driveways that come onto West Willard, and in terms of being consistent from neighborhood to neighborhood, that makes sense. But these homes seem to be much closer. The driveways appear to be much closer together than the driveways at Stony Springs are. Do we know what the distance is between the driveways of Stony Springs that enter onto West Willard and these proposed ones? Is this closer than the current Stony Springs driveways?
Josh, not hearing you. Not hearing you, Josh.
Uh-oh, he's our host.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Something's going on weird with my headphones. So I took those off. Can I answer a phone call from Mr. Jameson? I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Hey, real quick, I just as we're designing this, and you're
Frank,
talking
I'm
about
on with him right
alleyways,
now, sir.
just keep in mind that
Okay.
alleyways can sometimes create a maintenance nightmare for the town to plow snow, to do certain things in, to take care of and have to pave them. People are going to park in the way. They're really a pain.
Okay.
So maybe if you can get if there's an association or architectural board in this one here, they'd have to maintain it themselves. Just kind of keep that in mind if you can.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna create a maintenance nightmare.
Okay.
I think there's
Guys,
also
Mr. Jameson was just calling me, and he really wanted to stay with the continuity with the subdivision down the street. And I'm sorry I couldn't hear you guys while taking the phone call. I didn't hear if you guys answered how long the driveways were.
No, we weren't asked to look at it at this point. I mean, and this is a concept plan,
right?
If you will. So we weren't.
So, Amanda, I can do some research and I
than-
can get back to you and answer that question, ma'am.
Thank you. That would be great.
can I just want to comment on that, Amanda, if you don't mind, and then we move on to your next point. That the speed limit through there is higher than it is down near Stony Springs, I believe. I don't think it drops. So I think we need to take that into consideration in terms of safety for egress and ingress out of the driveways right onto West Willard. We also need to consider, I think there's an issue seeing to the south side down West Willard, if I'm looking at this correctly. The north is at the top of the map, is that right?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, Brian, say that again, sir.
Just on the south side of this property, I believe the elevation in the road is a bit of a hump, and you can't see cars coming very far south from your southernmost entrance to the property.
So Brian, let me interject here. That section of roadway now belongs to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So speed limits could be adjusted. Also, at one point, there was a comment that was made that maybe some speed, such as a speed hump or something along that, could be added to the property, to the adjoining roadway on West Willard to aid in reduction of speed. But that was one of the points that we brought up before, was that there might be a line of sight issue, and that would have to be addressed at the time of the preliminary plan.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for that.
So do we own Willard Road now?
West Willard Road to the town limits, yeah. And this subdivision is within the town limits.
And so we own both lanes of Willard Road, because I know the town limits on the other opposite side.
Yes. Yeah.
So that means we could fix Willard Road over by the high school in Stony Springs, because remember how we had that issue?
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that in various scenarios with the past town manager.
Amanda, thank you for letting me jump onto that discussion.
No, of course, that was totally pertinent. So the next thing that I know we've talked about before, but there's no park or playground here, and this is not a super easily walkable space. I mean, having a young child, I know how important playgrounds are to have in a community or incredibly close by. And I know Stony Springs is not far from there, but the playground in Stony Springs is actually quite far. And I don't know if you're proposing putting a sidewalk up by parcel A and straight up to the corner, but there's not a lot of walkability there, and it's not a super safe road to walk on the road. So that's something that I have as a concern as well.
Okay.
And then I just want to check real quick. The dotted lines around each home site are the setbacks, correct?
Those are building restriction lines. So yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So if you look at some of the homes, particularly home site number 40, 43, and 32, and if I don't know if you want to zoom in particularly on 40, there is no room next to the edge of the house. The one edge of the house is literally on the setback line. And that would dramatically impact the homeowner if they ever decide that they want to build a deck or, yeah, you can see home number 40. There's nowhere to do anything in that backyard.
Correct.
At all. So I think that those are things, and 43 is the same. It's just the opposite corner of the home.
The building restriction lines.
If you look at the code for building restriction lines, it's what's under roof.
So there would be other areas that go into that. It's just the building restriction lines are for the actual physical building. The zoning codes have different stuff for accessory structures and swimming pools, stuff like that.
So like an enclosed deck or something.
If it was enclosed, then it becomes roofed, and therefore it becomes a part of a structure. And that is odd that you should bring that up, because I was bringing it up. That is page 82 of the code, definitions, building line number 23. And it reads, a building line, a line beyond which the foundation wall or any enclosed or covered porch, vestibule, or other enclosed covered portion of the building shall not project.
So this would, like house lot number 1, if they want to build an enclosed deck, we run into the same issue we have with our variance item on the agenda today.
I think I need to say something to you guys. The house sightings on the plan does not dictate in any way, shape, form, law, anything like that, dictate how the houses could be constructed in the future. You're approving a concept, you're looking at a concept, and the house could be built anywhere within the building restriction line.
Correct. And also, it should be noted that as a builder goes to build, they'll change the model of each one depending on what the property owner wants. And they have to fit it on that lot within those building restriction lines as presented for. It's not unusual for a builder to use, if you will, a cookie cutter house because somebody may come in and say, rather than the Beaufort, I want the Henry house. So they change the models as they go. But as long as it meets the lot coverage and also the setback requirements, that's no harm, no foul.
Hey, Josh, can you refresh my memory? How come, I think we discussed it. Most developments, we ask for like some kind of incorporation of the trail system or some parks, such as Willard, they've incorporated some trail systems, incorporated some play areas. How come we don't have any of that on this proposal?
I thought we did address that, Kevin. Kevin, I'm going to have to get back to you on that and give you an answer, sir. I'm not going to tell you something I'm not sure of. So I'm going to have to get back to that.
Kevin, if you look at the master plan, it calls out for where the trails shall be. And in this particular piece of property, it was not projected on that. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is because for the parks, the thought process was, and this was by others, that since there's going to be across the street on Bodmer in the Westerly Grove subdivision, There is going to be a tot lot and also a practice ground. So the thought process was that a fee in lieu for the property would be rather than a than actually having a park in there. Do you all see where I'm talking about?
So, yeah, so they would pay a fee in lieu of providing the extra park space.
Kevin, when I did this subdivision, we had can you see where the hand thing is, sir?
Yeah, I remember there's going to be a tot where
there's a tot lot there. There's a public bathroom. We did lots of improvements to this.
Yeah.
You guys got all this land up here. We had a land exchange.
Yeah,
and so now a practice soccer field can fit on there. So I think the thinking is that they would use the stuff across the street.
Correct. That was by others. Yeah.
And we have sidewalks on Willard?
There would be sidewalks tying into Stony Springs. Yes. There will not be any sidewalks along Willard.
There would not be sidewalks on Willard?
On Willard, that's correct, because the nature of the roadway. And also it backs up against it would be a sidewalk to nowhere because if you get down, not West Willard, but on Willard, there's nothing to tie into or to get to because you're going to be in people's backyards. So there's no front access to any of those lots.
So there's the sidewalk from Stony Springs.
I'm sorry, it's Westerly. I'm sorry, Westerly Road. There's no sidewalks.
West Willard will have a sidewalk.
West Willard will have sidewalk. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, I keep on calling it. I want to call that Willard Road.
I get confused by that too, John.
Just so people can walk from there to the high school
safely.
Correct. And let me add on to this. Eventually, along the Westerly Grove area, there will be a sidewalk that runs down to Westerly Avenue. The Westerly Grove Bodmer Avenue will be tied into the Westerly Avenue.
And so theoretically, in the future, we could put a four-way stop at Bodmer if need arrived or something like that, because we own Willard now.
Correct.
One last thing, just, and I know that this kind of goes along with some of the things I was saying with some of the some of the layouts of the homes, and now knowing that obviously these could be very different, but homes 11 and 1, which are kind of on the diagonal, which matches what Stony Springs is, how their homes on the corners are. How they're positioned just kind of makes it so that there's no room for a backyard again, potentially, and I don't know if these are on the same exact angle as the Stony Springs homes, but potentially changing the angle, making a little less, larger of an angle so that they're not, there would be more backyard space, might be something that would be helpful because they can go anywhere in there. So I guess it doesn't particularly matter right now.
I could change the plan, but when they come to build this, they would build what they want to build. And I don't want to have a bad reputation down the road and think that I presented something to you erroneously and lied to you. That's not what I want to do.
Okay.
I live in this town. I don't want to destroy my reputation. I enjoy living in this town. Yeah, you guys are just asking some things that in reality can't be enforced unless you create some means for it to be enforced.
Amanda, one of the other things is when we get to this issue of zoning compliance, we'll talk about the way that the side yard and the backyards are determined on a corner lot. And so it'll be a little bit of an education there too. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
Those are my big things though, the pipe stem driveways, the park space, but I didn't realize there was a playground directly across the street. I obviously wasn't on the planning commission when that
Well, it's
plan
not
was
constructed yet either, so I don't know how you would know, because exactly you weren't on the planning commission back then.
right.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that, but the playground not being there, not having the pipe stem driveways, those are kind of my big ones at this
Yes,
point.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Hey, Josh,
Yes,
can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
You referenced the playground that's going to be built across the street. And then the thinking is that that playground would serve that community and this community, or that development and this development. How many homes is that? It seems like there could be a lot of stress on one playground.
So
Do you know?
at Westerly Grove, there's 59 homes.
Right.
And in this one, we're at what, 66?
Hey, Wade, do you know a typical ratio of playground to residents?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
No, I mean,
It depends on the size of the tot lot. I mean, is it a multi-age tot lot? Is it going to be big enough to support it? Is your question? I don't know the exact size of the Westerly Grove tot lot that's planned.
I think that's something we should look into, and maybe we do want another playground in the Bricken project. I don't know. That's something to look into. And while I'm talking, I agree with what Amanda said about the pipe stem driveways. I don't like those at all. There's like 5 or 6 of them that I think probably should, in my mind, should go. I'm confused. The way that you have the homes on Westerly, on West Willard, are they, I know the driveways are facing the street, but are the homes themselves facing the street? They are, right? The front
That was
of the
our
home is
intention.
facing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I agree with everything Amanda has said so far, and what Kevin has said. So those are my initial thoughts, Josh. Thank you.
Sure.
Excuse my ignorance. I want to back up. I don't have anything to add. I think every one of my concerns has already been touched on by another committee member, but can you please just clarify me, what is an NRI and what is a PIA agreement and what is the freight fee for? Like, this was a very quick discussion and I knew none of it. So can you just take a moment and bring me up to speed?
PIA, Public Improvement Agreement.
Okay.
So as we go through this process, similar to Westerly Grove, we laid out all the amenities that would be constructed, and sometimes there's time constraints placed on them, like there's a well being constructed in Westerly Grove. They had till the 33rd, I believe, permit being issued before that well had to be online. There's also a pump station they had to build. We had to tell them to put in LED street lights. So it's a whole list of all the amenities that the developer is required to put in on behalf of the town and then deed them to us.
NRI that's a natural resource inventory, forest stand delineation. What that is that's my plan that shows all the natural resources of the property.
Yeah, it's controlled by the state of Maryland. So what happens is Josh would go out and do a survey as a licensed landscape architect. I guess that's the correct way to do it. And he determines if there's any species that is endangered, any archaeological things that he can see on the surface, those kind of things that would preclude a special zone. If there were any champion trees or any particular species of vegetation that needed to be preserved. And this is done by them. And then we back check it with staff to make sure that that items that could be impacted, that the report is correct. As you can see, Josh, if you'll zoom to the left, if you will, upper corner of your plan, you can see that there are some significant trees shown on the plan, that NRI. Yeah, there you go. Pull it over a little bit. You see the little circles with the boxes and X is there. You see it says ST4, ST6, ST7. Those are trees. I haven't looked at the plan yet, but I'm sure that it says what they are. So
I have a chart over to the side that matches up with each number. I identify the species, Latin common name and Latin name.
Yep.
My credentials are I'm a registered landscape architect in the state of Maryland, and then I'm an internationally certified arborist with the hazard assessment credential. So I'm like, I guess I don't want to call myself an expert, a tree expert. So that's what I do. I tell people at Lexi, I go out and I hug trees. So that's majority of my work is going out and hugging trees, identifying, if there's rare, threatened, or endangered species out there, identifying wetlands, looking for creeks. And like John said, I reach out to DNR and they produce a list for me. If there are any rare, threatened, endangered species that they know of in this area, then they would tell me that and I'd have to do some more research on that. So basically what happens is I go out and I cover the entire property. I have to identify all trees greater than 24 inches diameter breast height. Like I said, I talk about the condition, their health, all that stuff. I identify the forests. On the right-hand side of the paper, there's forest stand narratives, which describe the forest, talk about the dominant tree species, the shrub layer, the herbaceous layer. It's just basically an environmental plan to provide all the environmental information so that people aren't adversely impacting the environment with the development.
All right, what's that freight fee?
Oh,
the
that one.
freight fee. I think what that was the park, the fee in lieu for the park. I think that's what you're hearing. Is that what you're talking about?
We talked about submitting the NRI and you guys searching for additional funds. I think that's what she's talking about.
Okay, so normally what would happen is at the time that a plan is submitted, a fee is paid for a preliminary plan. But they want to get ahead of themselves on this, and rather than doing it through the preliminary plan, they want to go ahead and have the NRI FSD submitted so they can go ahead and start into the process of stormwater management, the process of stormwater management. They're just ahead of the preliminary plan submittal. So it's a builder's risk by far, because what may happen is, like the conversation that you're having right now, the preliminary plan could get held up for that purpose, but so somebody has to pay for the review of that plan, if that makes sense. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. There was just that whole conversation that I needed some clarification on. And I'm sorry if I'm the only one that was lost.
Oh, no, it's just fine. It's all.
We use a lot of acronyms.
Assumptions. Yeah.
And the acronyms can go over people's heads and we don't realize that we're talking with all the acronyms. And it's unfortunate.
But basically, you want the NRI FSD to be looked at ahead of the preliminary plan, when normally that would be included in the preliminary plan fees. So since it's separate, there's going to have to be a separate fee.
Have to be a separate fee, and they would still have to pay the normal preliminary plan fee.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions or comments about this project?
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus that this is going the right direction, or do we think that they need to make a big revision and this is bad? We need to get that opinion relayed to them.
I think, well, at least Amanda and I and Martin, I think, mentioned it. The pipe stems are a concern.
Yeah.
Looks like they're kind of crammed in. Otherwise, everything else looks good. But I am concerned about the number of pipe stems, and it just looks a little crammed to me. But everything else is on. I don't know if that holds anything up, or we.
Oh yeah, and that's their decision,
later.
right? I mean, we give them the feedback to what we see, and that's their decision whether they want to move forward, whether they want to make some revisions and come back and ask us for more guidance. So Just want to make sure everybody had a chance to give their, I couldn't have said it any better than Kevin. I mentioned the driveways, when I'm just concerned about the safety with the line of sight and the speed limit. If we can address that in other ways, the front facing with the driveways doesn't bother me that much. The pipe stems I don't like, if that can be adjusted. But other than that, I see it going the right direction. Lexi, you want to summarize your thoughts?
No, I think I would just be reiterating what everyone else has said.
Thank you. Amanda?
The only thing I want to add is to potentially look at playgrounds, because I really think that that's important for communities and neighborhoods.
Yeah, I'd like to get some more definition on what the playground across the street is going to look like and the capacity. So I agree with that. Martin, you have anything else?
No, just everything that's been said before. Like you said, I'd like to see what how big the playground is across the street, and like what the typical number of homes per playground ratio is, and like I just don't want one playground to be too stressed. Like it seems like what Amanda said, like a separate development would benefit from its own little playground. And then the pipe stems, don't like the pipe stems. So basically everything you've said.
Thank you, sir. Josh, have we given you enough feedback? Do you have any questions for us?
No, you guys have been great. Thank you very much. Obviously, we took what you said to us the first time and came back with design revisions. So I think I'd like to get loose and start doing some stormwater management percolation testing and see where things will work out. And then we could actually come back to you with a pretty concrete plan, and obviously addressing the pipe stem issue, the frontage onto the road, and the driveways. I think you guys gave us pretty information that I can move. I think you guys gave us great information that I can move forward with. What I can also do, I did the subdivision across the street. The top lot's just shown as a generic block area.
Josh, they actually have a final plan for that.
Oh, cool.
So we can supply that.
Awesome. And I guess Wade will get back to you with some calculations for density on housing and playground usage.
Yep. Could you do me one thing before you leave, and please make Bobby the host?
Yes.
I can reclaim it.
You can?
Aha,
She's
you
now
did.
the host. Fantastic.
Everybody has been sent it again, and they were waiting, but they couldn't get in because I wasn't the host.
So do we have everybody in the
Josh.
waiting room? Is Poolesville ready to present, or is the variance?
They've got to sign in now that I'm the host again.
Do we
You
need
guys
to
are
do
done with
anything
me?
else with Josh?
Yes. No, I think we're done with Josh.
What about
Guys, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh.
Josh,
Sorry.
wait, don't hang up.
Yes, sir.
I thought we had to make a motion.
No, it's not approval. Is it the concept? You
yeah.
don't approve a concept.
No, I meant to get that started, doing this percolation test and the.
The NRIFSD.
I don't think you
No.
do. If they execute the agreement and provide the fees, they can get it because they're paying for the service. So
Okay,
it's
so we
not
don't
a
have to.
direction on that.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Thank you, Kevin. Bobby, I'm sorry I didn't hear you. Do we have everybody from Poolesville High School ready to go now?
I just
Are they at least
told them all,
sounds
I
good.
told them that they could join now. I wasn't the host, so they couldn't join.
Right. But they're at least in the waiting room. I mean, we have the
Not yet.
presenter.
I just emailed them back and told them I was the host again.
Okay,
I have
So I'm not in control of anything, Bobby, and I can say goodnight to you guys.
that's correct.
Awesome. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
I got Milligan. Jerry's still in there. I emailed that guy on the variance and he hasn't answered me. I tried to call him.
And if he's not, just as a matter of fact, I've never had this happen before. If he doesn't show up to the meeting, we don't discuss it.
No, I guess not. John?
I mean, we have done it before where we made the presentation on behalf of the applicant, but we can't say much other than what's in the report and where the issue is.
You can still bring it up.
Well, if the reason I asked that is because if we're waiting for Poolesville to be able to join, then maybe, and we just talk about that while they're coming.
We're ready to go.
I think they're
Okay.
all here.
Yeah, let's go
All
for
right.
high school.
Yes. Just trying to avoid any more dead meeting space tonight.
Okay. Who's going to be the present? Who's making a presentation?
Sean, this is Brandon Benjamin, project manager for the project. Sean with the MDO is going to be doing the presentation. Sean, if you want to go ahead and get that started.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sean, Bobby, you may need to make Sean the,
Yep, I'm looking for him.
okay.
There's a whole list here.
Hey, while they're starting, Wade, can you rehash what you said earlier about what our task is tonight with regard for this? What,
Sure,
so we
certainly,
know what
just
to
to-
look for while they're talking.
Right, so it's initial presentation. It's just to listen to the presentation, ask questions. If they come up, whatever, there has to be a staff review going forward. And so you'll be talking about this in a subsequent meeting at some point with a staff report that would have much more concrete information to go on.
And was there something about forest conservation?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
John did bring that up. Yep. So they'll be asking for approval for forest conservation, and John, he'll speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, who's going to talk for the high school?
That would be me, Sean Mulligan.
Okay, so I need to make you the host.
I think if you make me a co-host, it's a little safer.
It doesn't say co-host in mine. Sorry,
Gotcha. Okay.
So don't hang up until you make her the host again.
I can reclaim it.
Well, it depends on how nice you are to me. All right. Let me see if I can share here. All right. Can you folks see that?
Yep. Yes.
Excellent. And forgive me, I'm on a computer that is not my computer for this evening. So if it's a little rocky, I apologize. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you all for having us. My name is Sean Mulligan. I'm the project manager with VMDO Architects. With me today are Ken Thacker, who's a principal in the K-12 studio, Sean Benjaminson with AdTech Engineering, who's our civil engineer. And today we're going to talk with you about the town of Poolesville, the Poolesville High School capital improvement project. This project is an addition renovation project. So we've got an addition onto what will remain of an existing building. The capital improvement project is currently, the project is roughly 210,700 square feet. It breaks down to about 60,000 square feet of renovation and 150,000 square feet of new building. Just very briefly in terms of schedule, we've got about 5 months of design left in our schedule. We'll be handing in our DD estimate, our DD pricing set for an estimate in late May. And then we've got about 5 months of design. CD should go to bids in late October with a target construction start date of January 22. So this is our existing site plan. I think most of you would be familiar with this view of the property. Just to kind of orient everyone, West Willard Road is here on the left side of the frame. Wooten Avenue is to the north. The existing main building is in this area, which is a building that's been built over 6 successive periods of construction, starting in the 1950s. And then starting in 2009, the detached science annex building was built in this location. The current parking lot is located to the south of the science annex. These yellow arrows show the bus routes into the bus loop. Blue is our current car traffic into the parking lot, and currently traffic can go up this pipe stem into the bus loop. Service traffic comes off of Wooten Avenue south down the driveway to the rear of the building, and most utilities and all service vehicles come to the back into the service yard at the east of the property. Further east beyond the school building are the basketball courts, tennis courts, softball, practice fields, all of the athletic facilities, which are not in the scope of our project. Those will remain as they exist now. So that's just a kind of a brief overview of the existing property. The proposed plan is here. Again, West Willard Road. We're working to separate auto traffic, car traffic from bus traffic, closing off this pipe stem to car traffic, expanding our parking to the south of the building over to the east, which will allow us to have a slightly longer car student drop-off if necessary to prevent cars backing up on West Willard Road. The project includes significant additions, as we said, wrapping on the north and west sides of the existing auditorium, a two-story addition that runs along West Willard Road, facing West Willard Road on the west side of the existing building, and a two-story addition to the east of the existing science annex, which makes a two-story sort of L-shaped academic wing. The athletics and PE program is located in this area, mostly where it currently is located. The center of the project is a media center, kitchen, dining terrace, and the rear part of the building is demolished, which makes way for two new play fields that replace the existing play and practice fields that will be in the location of the future parking. Basketball courts are relocated to the back of the school with direct access from the PE and athletics areas, and a surprise and exciting opportunity between the north wing and south wing additions between the existing building and the addition is this linear learning landscape, which is a secure outdoor space that's accessible from both the north and south wings of the building throughout the day. So a nice place for learning, gathering, dining, and teaching for students. The project is currently planned for 1,500 student capacity with a master plan for 1,800 students. These red dotted areas here are the planned future expansions. So we'll be adding, to get to 1,800 students, we would be adding a number of classrooms, some additional science labs, and off of the arts wing, an addition for a choral room. We spoke through traffic briefly. Car traffic, a student drop-off. The school will have two primary entrances. The main entrance will be off of West Willard Road, where it is currently. Off of the bus loop, this sort of red arrow is indicating the primary entrance. The primary student entrance out of the parking lot will be to the south from the south wing. So we'll have two primary entrances at the time of completion, and service traffic to the site will remain coming off of Wooten Avenue and into a screened service yard to the north of the building services area. The existing greenhouse, barn, storage shed, all of those areas of the project will remain and will continue to be used as part of the program for the school. The existing school has 277 parking spaces. The proposed plan will provide 380. That includes 10 accessible. Expanded stormwater management features. There are two current bioswales along West Willard Road. We're continuing to use that area as a stormwater, to manage stormwater, and also as a nice planting buffer along this public way. Yeah, no, I think that's it for the site plan. I know that pedestrian access and pedestrian traffic is of key interest to the community. There are currently 2 crosswalks, one at the northwest corner of the property across West Willard Road to the Baptist Church parking lot, and then one north of the property across Wooten Avenue. The orange here and here are indicating new sidewalks that are going to be added as part of the project, a sidewalk that will connect the existing sidewalk next to the public bus stop on Wooten Avenue, on the south side of Wooten Avenue, to the existing sidewalk that connects to the crosswalk across West Willard Road. So we'll have a consistent sidewalk that will run all along the south side of Wooten Avenue. And then to the south of the property, there's a out the student entrance, the primary student entrance to the parking area. There's a sidewalk that works its way through the parking area across the south side of the parking lot and connects to the existing sidewalk that heads south down West Willard Road. We're also maintaining and connections from the school to the athletic and field access. So there are walkways to the north and south of the existing tennis courts that connect the athletic facilities, the school, parking to the track and competition fields and to the practice fields. So now we'll go through a few before and after images just to help orient you to the project and also to let you know where we're heading in terms of the design. So to walk you through what we're seeing here, this image is from a view from the northwest of the property. This is West Willard Road here to the right. Wooten Avenue heads off to the left. Faculty parking along Wooten Avenue to the north. This is the existing auditorium. There's the existing second gym and main gym. The approach to this project was to keep and maintain, fully renovate these existing big box spaces because they meet the program that MCPS is looking for at the school, and to retain some of the connective building tissue between them and renovate it extensively. So a full gut renovation of this area to remain, and then demolish the older portions of the school that are at higher floor levels. There's a significant about 4.5-foot grade change from the west entrance of the school to the back side of the school. So removing those kind of complicated ADA accessibility issues and older construction types in the back half of the school, and taking advantage of the property and the space that provides, and then building a new school that functions effectively on one first floor level for all of the new additions and all of the floor to remain. And so this is the proposed design. You'll recognize the shape of the auditorium, the second gym with the bow truss roof there, the main gym. Along the north and west side of the auditorium is a 1.5-story, a kind of a high ceilinged arts addition for studio art, music, and ceramics. This is the 2-story academic addition that attaches to the 2009 Science Annex. The classrooms continue to the north here on the west side in the 2-story addition, and this central section is the main administrative area. The main entry off of the bus loop will be here facing West Willard Road. So that's our 2-story kind of L-shaped addition, and the north and south wings are connected by a 2-story glazed connector. And as I was saying before, the removal of the back half of the school provides an opportunity to create these lovely green play fields, practice fields, and also public spaces for community use. In the center here, there are 2 existing courtyards which will remain and be planted as public outdoor spaces, secure outdoor spaces to be used by students inside. In the center of the plan is the media center, and then on the east side of the plan is the dining commons, kitchen and building service, and the dining commons opens out to an outdoor terrace that looks out onto these lawns beyond. To the south of our 2-story bar addition is the extended parking here. This is the existing parking lot in its current configuration. And then to the east are the athletic fields and athletic courts, which are outside of the scope of our project. So here's a view from West Willard Road, looking at the 2009 Science Annex here to the right. And this is the existing main building there. You can see the second gym popping up. You can see the buildings are currently detached, which was a concern of the students in the community, or the community members wanted to make sure that there were secure connections between the two buildings. And this is the proposed completed design using red brick, mineral stain on the existing annex, and a blend of brick colors to create a unified palette to make the buildings feel as though they're unified in design. We've got some dark metal at our entries, wood and wood-like wood tone products that are kind of warm and welcoming at the entries and the connectors, some vertical fins for shading to avoid glare in classrooms, opportunities for planting and learning landscapes along that west side of the two-story addition. And this entrance to the two-story connector is a wonderful place for an accessible ramp, and also a series of story steps and meeting places, gathering places for students as they head to events or field trips, as we know they're often want to do.
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question on that previous slide? I noticed this drawing is a little newer, updated with the fins, the metal fins.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is when and why were those added? Because I thought there was a different exterior envelope in the previous.
The exterior envelope was slightly different during schematic design. Since the end of schematic design, we have been performing a series of daylight studies to look at lighting levels and to make sure that we have adequate light levels to reduce the amount of energy load, reduce the amount of electric lighting that we need, and also ensure the best possible light for the learning environments. And so these fins were added to make sure that we can avoid glare in late afternoon sun.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see some other shading devices on the south side, which do a similar thing. They avoid glare, they act as light shells and reflect light deeper into the classroom, which should allow the classes to operate without electric lights more often than not, while also maintaining the best possible lighting environment for the classrooms.
You said to avoid late afternoon glare. Aren't classes normally done by 2:30 or 3 o'clock?
Yes, they are.
And is that considered late afternoon glare? I'm assuming that window of late afternoon glare applies to that time frame?
At certain times of the year, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. There are also administrative offices across the west facade. So the admin suite runs along there as well.
Gotcha.
Just a quick comment. Exteriorly, it's not as pleasing as the previous drawing. It looks a little more, I guess, prison-like is a bad term. It looks like bars, or am I looking too deep into that picture?
Well, I hope not.
Oh, well, yeah, that's just the way it looks. To me, it's
sure
not very appealing, but
the vertical fins.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't see them on the science wing, but they're on the
right.
The
the science wing makes an attempt to do the similar move with these vertical masonry fins. And so one thing that we're trying to do is to introduce some of that verticality and to tie the design of the new addition into and connect it to graphically the style of not emulate the style, not copy that masonry projection, but to bring some of the verticality that is in the 2009 annex into the new addition.
And Sean's right. The west-facing windows are like east-facing windows. They're dealing with real low-angle sun. When you see the south elevation, you'll see a different approach to sunshades that are actually horizontal shelves that work well on a south-facing elevation, not so well on a west elevation like this. I think it's another way of breaking down the scale of the building and providing a little bit of visual interest from one side of a long building to another.
Thanks, Ken. So this is the existing entrance, the main entrance from West Willard Road. Again, you can see the auditorium there, the covered entry at the bus loop, and this is the current administrative suite. And this is our proposed design at the entry. We have glazed connectors on either side, vestibules, and exit stairs. The main office is in this location here. The primary entrance, the main entrance to the school, will be next to the main office, secure vestibule in this location. On the second floor of this area is the admin suite, student services, and other administrative functions. The primary office is in this location. To the left, north of the main entrance, is a secondary entrance, an after-hours entrance for the art lobby, which would be the current main entrance next to the auditorium. Beyond, you can see the arts addition that wraps around the existing auditorium. And materially, we have a dark metal cantilevers, a wood-toned material, bringing in the kind of color and textures of wood as a nod to Poolesville's agrarian nature, but keeping the facades clean and crisp and refined at looking towards the future. And at each of these, the main entries, we have metal panels wrapping a kind of a large entry gesture, and the warm wood on the underside to indicate entry into the building. This is the view that exists currently from the parking lot in the south. You can see the annex to the left there with its two-toned brick. The second gym beyond, the main gym, and the primary existing entrance to the main gym, which is now going to shift around to the east side of the building. And this is that view again proposed. This is the annex with the unified look of the brick, the large entry canopy gesturing entry towards the parking area, welcoming students in, low canopies for cover. And this is the metal siding, which was in the schematic design presentation, which maintains. These are, which in this elevation, it indicates the locations of the labs along the south wall of the south addition and the south wing. So classrooms and labs all along this area. We've got, again, bioswales, stormwater management along the south of the building, gathering the water and treating the water locally, which will be a wonderful place for students in the global ecology program to engage with aquaculture and the agriculture of the area. And as we talked about before, the horizontal sunshades, which provide a little bit of visual interest, also reduce glare and act as light shelves to bounce light further back into the classrooms. This is the existing view of the rear of the school to the east. So this is the existing cafeteria. This is the primary service yard, that service corridor that we talked about on the east side of the property.
I don't think your slide changed.
Oh.
At least I don't see it change.
Are you guys seeing it?
Yeah, I see the slide change.
Okay.
Oh, I do now. Sorry,
Okay.
must be my machine.
Must have been going too fast. Apologies. So that's the existing conditions on the east side of the building. And this is the proposed design. Again, these are our practice and play fields, ball courts to the south side of the play fields. That's our two-story academic addition beyond. This metal clad volume is the volume of the existing main gym, which now has direct access to the outdoors and access to the play courts and play fields. In the center here, or over to the right-hand side, this is the glazed dining commons with a one-story, two-sided concession stand, which can function as a school store, concessions for events for both theater performances as well as athletics. And the dining commons area functions as a kind of a pre-function lobby for after-hours events in the main gym as well as in the auditorium. And to get a little closer to that area, this is that dining terrace. So directly off the dining commons, a covered outdoor area for students to gather, for classes to be held, for students to work with and collaborate together or with their teachers. And you can see beyond the kind of open glazing into the dining commons. And then you can see the courtyards that are at the center of the design beyond, which connect the dining commons to the media center. And there are courtyards flanking either side of the media center to bring in a little bit of light and a little bit of greenery and a little bit of light and biophilia, which has tremendous benefits both for health and well-being and also cognition. This view is a view a little bit from the air. To orient you, the main gym is here to the right. That's the metal clad volume there. We're renovating the existing athletics and PE spaces in the existing building. I have really reduced the square footage of the project since schematic design and fit the program into the existing footprint. This is our two-story academic addition coming off of the 2009 annex. That's that two-story glazed connector. And this is probably one of the most exciting parts of the project for us. This wonderful space between the two buildings that we think of as a learning landscape. It's a secure outdoor space with a fence and a gate on the east end. The two-story connector as the other secure end, and classrooms and athletics and PE spaces can open directly onto it, a wonderful place for students to come together. So taking this as the existing view of that space, and what we're proposing to provide at the end of the design is this. So this is our academic and classroom wing to the left. And lots of spaces for impromptu lectures, performances, class gatherings, dining and gathering of students. Great place to have, drone races and practice all of the things that I'm sure the SMACS students will get up to in that area. And some opportunities to introduce environmental graphics and talk about how we can use the building as a teaching tool to talk with students about geothermal systems, about water and water cycles, and how these bioretention areas treat stormwater on site and contribute to the health of the waterways in the region. And that is what we have to show you. I hope that's been at least a relatively quick but thorough look at the site plan and the exterior of the building. And I'd love to hear any comments or questions you might have.
Hey, Sean,
Ken, jump in if I missed anything.
John, do you happen to have the forest conservation? Because that's kind of a thing that we got to get through. Do we have a plan for the forest conservation we can look at real quick?
Yes. I'm sorry. I thought I had it, but I'm not on my machine. Let me see. Perhaps our friends at AdTech might be able to get to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking for it, Sean.
I have our civil site plans, but I don't think that's going to help you.
Yeah, that won't help
in that conversation.
No.
Would that previous overlay help?
No. Well, if you will, I can describe it. What's taking place is where the parking lot is, and you see where the orange, right down in here. In this area here, there's an existing forest conservation strip that runs along the south side of the project, and then it comes up and goes up the east side and into the north side of the project. What the proposal is to take this the parking lot area that you see here and convert that to take that square footage of forest conservation and rotate that to the northeast corner of the project. See if I can pull it. Hang on.
If I have the drawings in front of me.
Yeah, the drawings. Okay. All right. All right. So who's that's speaking?
This is Sean Benjaminson.
Sean, so what has to happen in order to show that is somebody needs to make Sean the presenter.
Yes.
Bobby here still?
Gotta reclaim, and I'm making Sean the host.
Sean Benjamin, yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Okay.
There you go.
So here's the forest conservation area over here.
Yep.
And like you're saying, John, here's the other forest conservation area that we're expanding in this zone. So here's the football field and track. So it's on the far east side of the property. And then these other areas to remain here along the south and east.
So what it does is it enlarges that northeast section of the project to have additional forest conservation. But that would need a recommendation from the planning commission to the commissioners to accept that change. And from what it was to what it will be.
Hey, John, just a quick stupid question. The existing forest conservation, they wouldn't remove any trees, right? I thought all those trees were in the backyards of the homeowners.
Well, they're not. They're along the property line, on the town side of the property line. If it's on private property, they can't remove them. But
yeah,
trees that are along the property line, they can remove if you go ahead and grant the forest conservation relocation.
But you're right, Kevin. That was initially when the other building was built, they put the forest conservation there as a buffer from those homes.
Correct.
And is there anything planted? I thought it was mowed all the way up to the property lines. No?
It is mowed because it's a class 2 forest conservation area, not a class 1. Yeah, it's maintained.
Okay. So yeah, and the other lot, for as long as I remember, that's just been an empty grass lot. And it makes sense to move it to that corner by the townhouses.
I think the school uses it for shot put.
No. So it makes sense to me to move it. I would make a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on your question though, Kevin. I mean, even if those trees are on town property, do they need to be removed? Are those? I can't tell if they're X'd out if they are to be removed.
Yeah, so there's there's an existing red maple here, and then a couple other trees along this side as we attempt to widen and expand the parking lot.
Okay.
The management, as well as what's important is pedestrian access to the site and limiting the number of places where students have to cross driveways and putting in a place that's safe. And so doing this is really attempting to improve that that pedestrian connection.
And you look like you're being selective. It's not arbitrary. I see what you're doing with the removal. I'm okay with that. And in terms of square footage of forest conservation, it's 1-to-1. What you're putting back, what you're removing.
Correct.
We'll still need a forest conservation plan eventually, but I mean, this concept has to, in order for them to do what they need to do, it has to go forward.
Can you move to the east a bit on this particular page and tell me what's going to happen with the cut through? I don't see it in your schematic, but there is a cut through in this general area. There is a sidewalk that goes through these residential properties and onto the high school land.
It's down by the softball field, I think, Lexi.
Is it farther down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the softball, the divider, that path goes between the girls softball and I think a practice field.
Right.
Okay, so it's farther down.
Yeah.
Is that going to be paved? Because right now it just spits you out onto grass.
It would be nice if that was paved so that could connect that neighborhood to the school.
Right.
That area is outside the limit of the scope of our project.
Okay.
Want to add that to our advocacy efforts in addition to the new gym and the wellness center.
I thought you said, didn't you say that the gyms are being renovated?
Yeah, but not to the full scale that is in line with the rest of Montgomery County high schools. Our gym is far less than what other Montgomery County high schools have. So Fair Access Committee, along with PTA, is advocating with the Board of Ed and county council members to increase the budget for this project.
But that makes no sense at all. I mean, it took, look how long it took us to get a renovation of the building. We haven't had any renovation of the gyms, and they're going to leave. They're going to come out and do this work and then leave without touching, really getting the gyms up to date. And how long is it going to be before they come back to do that?
Because that's exactly
years?
the point. And that is the point of our advocacy.
The existing, this is Dennis Cross with MCPS. The existing gyms are being totally renovated and updated. They will effectively be new spaces. Now, Mr. Schramm is correct that they are remaining existing gyms, and that's a result of the overall budget. So that's certainly something that can be addressed if need be.
Yep. So and that's what we're addressing.
But they are new. I mean, the gyms will be totally outfitted, basically new. You won't be able to walk in and see the old gym by any stretch. So I just wanted to put that in context. That's all.
Okay. I'd like to see. I don't know if it's under our purview here or not, but maybe Kevin can bless me one day with the description of what that actually means. Just Kevin and I have been, we're graduates of that high school, and when we walked in there as 7th graders, that's the way the thing looks today, right? I mean, we're not young men anymore. It's been a while, and I can't imagine. Yeah, I hope that it's a significant and up to date renovation, and not just a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, it's going to be from what we understand, a fresh coat of paint. It's not increasing the size, which is the main problem with those gyms. Those gyms are essentially middle school gyms.
Yeah, they're not. They weren't big enough when we went to high school there, and it's 3 times the size of when we went there.
Yeah, and the PHS has more
It
student
didn't
athletes.
stop the girls from winning the state championship in basketball.
No, but it did keep a lot of people from being able to watch it, and I'm not joking.
Yeah, that's right.
I watched it in downtown Poolesville, so I didn't have any problem.
But that's what we're advocating for. So we would like to see, and maybe the next drawing, where you had those red dots that put future expansion. I hope the next drawing includes future expansion next to the gym instead of the basketball court that is proposed.
Yeah.
So that's what we're pushing for. I know it's not in your guys' purview. You guys are just the designers and architects of what you've been asked to do. But that is a big thing with the community, and that's an issue with the BOE and the county council. And we've come this far. Why it's a mere small percentage of the total capital budget for MCPS. It's hard for us to fathom why this improvements aren't included. But again, that's not Sean and That's not VMDO's.
It's
right.
Dennis, right? Dennis is the guy we got to bend his ear.
Well, no, we got to bend the BOE and the people who
You
have
got to
the
go
money
further up the food than Dennis.
right.
We've worked closely with Dennis to try to shepherd this budget challenge project into existence, and are continue to work very hard with MCPS to make that happen. And I Kevin, I fully hear you, and we've heard you since the beginning. As Dennis said, I think it's a little outside of our purview here. We're trying to make the best possible school we can with the money that's available, and in the CIP.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, for anyone listening on the YouTube or whatever, from the townsfolk, this is what we need to fight for, and
right.
But otherwise, the design looks beautiful for the new spaces that are being created.
I agree.
We're thankful for that.
Yep.
That's lovely to hear. Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion for the?
Martin's trying to say something.
Oh.
I have a couple questions here that people have texted me. If you just bear with me for a second here. I guess during Poolesville Day, which is like the third Saturday in September, I think. Someone's wondering if the parking lot will be available this year, because there's an event that happens that we use that parking lot for. So do you have any plans to have anything going on there in September in any of the parking lots?
Hey, Martin or Sean, I'm sorry if I'm going to interrupt, but I think there's going to be an announcement at the May 18th PTA meeting, because there's going to be some fencing off and construction going on during the summer in preparation for the major construction that's going to start in January. And I don't think those plans have been finalized, but they're going to provide those plans at the May 18th PHS PTA meeting. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That's correct, and I think that's the right time to talk about that.
Okay.
Just the scope of that and what will be available.
Another question is there going to be a sidewalk on West Willard?
Yes, there is a connection to the crosswalk at the northwest corner of the property. So northwest of at the corner of Wooten and Willard, and then a connection that comes south through the parking area, west towards West Willard, and then connects to the parking lot at the southwest corner. So we're basically tying into existing parking lots at the northwest and southwest corners.
Okay. And what green measures are you incorporating into the project?
In terms of sustainability?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So throughout the project, like on all MCPS projects, we'll be using high-performing LED lights. So low energy use lights and fixtures. That includes the food service equipment. We've got a high-performing building envelope, which reduces energy loss and heat gain, and a right-sized mechanical equipment system. We're using a geothermal system along with that to reduce the overall energy consumption of the building. And this building will be designed to be net zero ready. So the idea is that the building will be ready to receive, when MCPS is available to procure them, PV arrays to offset the energy usage of the school itself. This is a big challenge because it's a large addition renovation project, and making that a net zero ready project will require a great deal of work and effort, but we think we can get there with the team that we've got. And along with daylighting, increasing daylighting, dealing with daylighting throughout the spaces, having fresh air demand control ventilation to improve indoor air quality. So we use a significant DOAS system that brings fresh air into the system and moves heat around the building. There's a small portion of the roof will have a vegetated roof to deal with stormwater management, and then the remainder of the stormwater is being treated on the ground or in the ground. Ken Thacker, please let me know if I've forgotten anything. That's
sure.
important.
The only other thing I would add is that the orientation of the major new addition aligns classrooms with an east-west axis. And that really serves to daylight the classrooms in the best possible way. So they're all facing either due south or due north, which is fantastic for natural daylight of classrooms and keeping those electric lights turned off.
I think it's also important to note that Montgomery County has adopted the Green Building Code, IGC Green Building Code, which is probably one of the most rigorous building codes for sustainability in the country. And we are, of course, following that. And in addition to that, we are also, I don't know if the town is familiar with green globes, but it's a measuring entity similar to LEED that has been adopted by MCPS. And we will be achieving a minimum of 2 globes for Poolesville High School, which would be equivalent for those that may be familiar with LEED of the LEED Silver project, for example. So I think with everything that Sean said and coupled with those 2 elements, design requirements and design elements, it'll be outstanding as far as sustainability is concerned.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dennis. I saw in the chat, there's a question about geothermal system. It's a closed loop geothermal system. The field will be located. I don't know if it's a question about where it will be located or how it will work. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 geothermal wells will be drilled to act as the field for the HVAC system. The pump room where we were looking in the learning landscape. Yes.
Please look at the wellhead protection program for the town.
Yes. I think Sean Benjamin, if you move to the other plan, I think I can point to kind of where that occurs. I don't know if the question was, where is that happening or what is it?
There are certain geothermal systems that are not allowed within the town because of wellhead protection.
Understood.
Yeah, John, we had that come up with a resident a couple years ago, right? They wanted to install geothermal.
Correct.
And it went into our aquifer.
Correct.
And I guess that's the concern that it goes into our
It's also
aquifer.
seepage and a whole bunch of other things. So, yeah, we recommend looking at the wellhead protection plan, which is in the town code.
Were there any other questions or comments?
I don't think so.
You got all my questions. Thank you very much.
I wonder what our next step is relative to this group after this presentation.
I guess
Brian.
our first step is the forest conservation.
Yeah. Is that a approval for tonight, or are we gonna? John, did you have more to look at before we?
No, I need to be able to take it to commissioners, relocate, and then we'll get all the guts of it.
And what's your opinion on it?
It's a good fit. It creates a deeper density of forest. It does cut back on. The only thing is that depending on how things play out, you may need to put some plantings along there for screening.
Mhm. Wade, you got any comments on it before we make a motion?
No, I think from that there, John's recommending to go ahead and improve the forest conservation at this time.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the commissioners the relocation of the forest conservation area for the modernization of PHS.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I couldn't see Lexi and Amanda. Can you just verbalize for me? Make sure we know.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Thank you guys for your time and a well thought out presentation. The place looks really nice. I'm excited to see it come to fruition with better gyms.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
So
Very
this is Dennis Cross again with MCPS, and it was well worth waiting around. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.
So Bobby's the host now. Good.
Yeah.
Do we still don't have anybody for the variance?
I called him. I sent him another invite. He's had a copy of the agenda.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
I received an email from Jerry Klebakowski. He wasn't able to join in the meeting. He had some concerns about the variance. So he asked me to share it with the fellow commissioners.
Before we do that, Kev, I was just going to ask for some guidance from Jay, Wade, John. Do we move forward with this tonight, or should we table it for a month?
It's not required that he be here for this. If you feel you can make a decision based on what is presented to you. However, as you know, most of the time the applicant actually answers your questions and provides more details than is right in front of you. And we as staff can't really do that on his behalf because we wouldn't be able to testify for it, if you will.
Right.
John's been talking to him and certainly can explain what's going to be happening to your group. But as far as providing assurances or this is what I'm going to do, that's way beyond what we could do.
Hey,
Right.
Brian, can I suggest we move it to the next meeting? And I would like us to consider Jerry's comments, because he has some important comments that I think we need to consider that we can't really do tonight.
I'd like to keep the order, like they hear the presentation, the homeowner present as to why they want the variance and get the town's weigh in, and then we can hear the public comments. So I don't want to spoil the order of operations there and to hear Jerry's comments before we get the other input.
So should I hold off on forwarding the email?
I think
you guys?
No, I mean, we have email information from the town and from the applicant, so it's fine to, I think, receive that comment over email.
Okay.
And do we want to? We probably need a motion to table it, and just want to get any feedback from anybody else if that really thinks we ought to hear it, or if this is a good idea.
That would be the best.
Yeah, I like your idea, Brian. I think tabling it is appropriate.
Yeah, I agree with Martin that I think it should be tabled till next month.
I'd be happy to make a motion to that effect. I make a motion we table the variance request until the June meeting.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Last on our agenda is master plan, and it is 9:45.
But do we want to, Brian, you and I had a discussion. Do we want to move this until June also, because it's pretty late?
And you only have 13 minutes left on your YouTube streaming.
Yeah, this is not going to be a short discussion, I don't think. So I would tend to want to make a motion to move this to June, if that's okay with everybody. Is everybody okay with that?
I think that makes sense. I am. Yeah. I'm fine with it. If we really need, if there's something we need to discuss tonight and really want to get on the table, let's do it. But if not, let's wait until the next meeting.
Yeah. So any discussion on that?
The only thing that I have a question about is I mean, it sounds like most likely both Willard and Bricken potentially could be back again next month, and we might be in this time crunch again. I feel like, is this something where at a certain point we need to say master plan stuff needs its separate meeting, because we really need to kind of get that moving? I feel like we're really far behind, and I think that that's the information that we're getting from everyone.
Let's hear Wade's, if you would, Wade, where exactly do we stand? That would help us make our decision, I think.
Well, we need to have an initial discussion and conversation, lay out what we're going to do, what the consultant's going to do, what all the parts are going to be. But I think Amanda's correct. A work session is what we did the last time both times we did the planning commission comprehensive plan. We had special work sessions because there was too much other work that always interfered with it. So she's exactly right. We should probably talk about scheduling some work sessions. Everybody can check their schedules and we just get into that mode.
Okay. Good. Can we schedule work sessions over email?
Yes.
Okay. We'll look forward to getting that going right after this meeting, if everybody's cool with that.
You need me to make a motion, Brian, or can we just do it?
I think we need to make a motion to table anything that's on the agenda.
Okay, so I make a motion that we move the discussion of the master plan until a work session, a special work session that we will determine via email. That's sufficient?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye. And before we go, I have one thing I want to bring up, if I may. I should have said this to Josh, but I'd like it to be on the record. I don't know if the interior roads in Bricken have sidewalks or not, but I personally would like to see sidewalks at least on one side of the road, on those roads.
They have to by code.
Okay, good, perfect. Yep. Okay, that's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Pretty tough start. Bobby, thanks for hanging in with us and getting everything going. And I guess in the next couple of days, we'll start seeing some emails discussing. So we have a couple minutes left. I want to understand the work sessions. This is, are these public meetings? Do they have to be recorded on like Zoom and stuff like that?
I think when you have a work session, we're just going to call it a special meeting for basically what you're doing. Normally at a work session, you usually don't take votes and you don't make decisions, but I think you'll have a special meeting and it'll be defined just for the purpose of the master plan. So there won't be any other types of business on it.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that. If generally Tuesday nights, what's today? Tuesday? Wednesday nights, whatever night we are, I'll try and keep to that if that works for people generally. I'll start getting some emails out and figuring some dates.
Yep, Wednesdays are good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We should be done. If I need a motion to officially end it, though.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Have a good night.